The game developers in this series, man, they are just so fed up with Maple, and the fact that they actually stumped Maple, but it still wasn't good enough because Sally was with her, I feel for them because this VR, this technology is so advanced, it's literally impossible not to have a game-breaking bug or a way to make a character OP when the sensation is as real as anything in our current world. But I mean, they kinda beat Maple this episode, and I wasn't really expecting the way they would do it, because the entire time they're watching these videos, if you've been doing so, I mean, I've been saying she should be the final boss. Like, they should get every single player to gang up against her at the end of the game for as like a final hurrah, because she's literally the most OP character. But then, in this episode, they bring up a concept I didn't even consider. What happens if they just steal her skills? And yes, maybe that wasn't quite enough, and yes, she was kind of had her back against a wall, but what if they then make a boss that mimics her, like copies her and learns from her, like that type of AI growth? That's honestly a way they could actually beat her. Unfortunately, she doesn't usually work alone. So in the case of Sally, when she was basically kind of getting pushed against the wall, couldn't do much, she was getting ate by some origami, Sally was able to take care of business. And I like the fact that they're actually challenging her while still keeping her in that OP form, something I wasn't sure if they could do, but seemingly they absolutely can, and this new event is absolutely incredible. Now, I do have a full live reaction to today's episode available on my Patreon, so if you want to see that, consider supporting. But yeah, this episode, I would argue, was probably the most fun out of the three. I quite like the fact that honestly, this is how live service games should be. You literally have, like, every episode a new event, a new level. It's just constantly new content for these characters to experience, and the fact that they continue to bring up some really fun ideas about the struggles of game development. So when she initially, because the episode kicks off, we're still in the haunted mansion little area, and she falls down a hole and she gets covered in slime. And then she basically traps these little goofballs and then throws the slime, throws her own abilities, and they start glitching. I thought what was happening was the event was meant to not be completed, as if like you weren't ever supposed to actually catch them, they were just impossible, right? And that maybe there would be a different, like a secret way to beat the level without actually capturing them. So that's why I thought they were glitching out, because Maple being Maple, well, she does things that aren't really intended. Nope, she just kind of overrided the object count. So the concept of, because they had slime down there just as like a booby trap, no one considered the fact that what if she added the slime to like this combination attack, and in return it kind of glitched the game out. I love the fact that there's actually these little moments of game developer kind of like hair-pulling moments where you just don't think a player will do something, and then you get a Maple who just does everything in such an unorthodox way that they can't help but say, how are we ever going to beat this menace? The fact that you kick off this like mission where there's 10 floors, right? This giant tower. The first floor is literally a dragon, and I thought that was so cool. I thought the final boss would be a dragon. Nope, first floor, literally a dragon. And the fact that they just didn't consider the possibility of what would happen if someone like fired a bunch of attacks within the interior of their body, so when the mouth is open. Yes, you can make the joke, well, has no one ever played a video game? Like, most of the times when you fight dragons, you attack them when they're not firing a fireball. But you gotta consider the fact that just because we have a lot of something in our world doesn't mean that a show like this has a bunch of dragons where when a dragon stops firing a fire blast, it's just common knowledge, like shooting the red barrel, that you would shoot your attacks down its throat, right? So the fact that, you know, they just didn't see that one coming, and then when it came to the copying ability, they were actually kind of happy, like, damn, we actually pushed her. Like, she lost a majority of her skills and she wasn't able to do much. Yeah, she could tank a bunch of hits because she still had a lot of health, but they literally stole Machine Gun. She was not doing too well, and if it wasn't for Sally, I think the argument is she would have fully lost. She would have had to die and respawn and have to regroup herself. And I like the fact that for these game developers, they constantly make it the struggle of they need to make it challenging without making it impossible. The unfortunate thing is they have a player named Maple who they can't tell what is too hard and what is too easy, because what they think will be a challenge, they see her turn into a giant sheep's wool with turret guns and she's just shooting and floating around all the traps. So what's actually a challenge for your average Joe player? Do you just give up and eventually say, you know what, she's gonna do what she's gonna do, we're gonna let the other players just obviously have a normal challenge and we'll build around them? There's not an easy solution. Because right now it seems like the way you would challenge Maple is by just continuing to either steal her abilities or copy her abilities and have an AI object boss fight that does exactly what she does, but potentially can learn and grow faster than she can. If they do that though, how would your average player defeat that? I mean, not everyone's a Maple. It's kind of it's a coin toss. Is it going to be too OP? Is it going to be too easy? Is it just going to become the point where they don't even care about the other players? They just try to defeat Maple? I don't know, but I love it. But it's kind of fun though with this season too, because we have our favorite fire goddess over here who has to put on this like very strict, stern persona. And the fact that she has like the struggle is real moment where she just kind of wishes that she didn't make a character like this. Honestly, probably wishes she just made a real soft support character or something, but now she's kind of stuck because she's invested so much time. We've all been there where we built a character in some game and you're like, okay, I kind of want to play it this way, but you're so used to playing it this way that even when you go back to replay a game, I still find myself playing the exact same playstyle rather than branching out because, the tried and true methods, you just know what's going to work or not. Do you think it'll be a plot point throughout this season where eventually she'll probably drop her persona and drop her guard a little more, or maybe she'll be accepted? I don't expect it anytime soon, but I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of season 2 we do get a moment like that. But I do really like this episode. I mean, the action was fun. We had a dragon fight. We had basically a haunted book fight, which honestly was just machine god and fire blast. And then we had this really cool like golem fight, which started as a lava and then turned into an ice golem. And all of it was rather quick, sure, but I like the fact that it's just so rapid fire. It just makes you, for me anyway, feel like I want to play this game even more than I already did, and that's like my biggest praise of season 1. This is the game we all wish we could play if it was this realistic. And I love the fact that it's just rapid firing. Maybe people consider that fast pacing for them. For me, I love it because it just makes it feel like a very good live service MMO RPG VR experience, and I just wish I could play it. The 3D in the episode is kind of a hit or a miss for me. I think in general, even when I was very noticing it because they just kind of kept the character models 3D at multiple points, yeah, it's a little distracting, and I think certain moments blend in better than others. But the one thing I can hand it to him is during that whole like haunted fight, the way Sally was running and doing all her crazy maneuvers, it was very fast paced and the momentum kind of kept up, so a lot of times you couldn't even really, if you really honed in and focused in, yeah, you could tell a character model was 3D. But I mean, the scene was meant to just be played in motion, so it just kind of looked like Sonic the Hedgehog running around some books and doing some crazy maneuvers. Wasn't the best 3D I've seen this season by any means, but it also wasn't the worst, but it is worth mentioning because I did notice it a bit more, especially during the second half of that entire fight. But I still think it's a beautiful shot. I mean, the effects, the way they can get around gore. I mean, when that dragon exploded, I thought it was kind of hilarious because really it's like blood splatter, but because it's the cubes, they get around that gore tag, but it's kind of violent with how they go about certain things. And I mean, the background art still is some of my personal favorite. Just that initial shot when you just see the woods and everything, it's just, this show is drop dead gorgeous, man. But yeah, I love this season. I really feel like I'm enjoying it more and more the more I watch. I mean, I watched the first season in a binge, and it was like, damn, I just wish I had more. But there is a charm about watching a show like this. You know it's going to be entertaining. You know it's not necessarily going to be your anime of the year or anything. But I stick by what I said. It's going to be one of the most fun anime you will follow this year, and really, we're 3 for 3. I enjoyed my return, I enjoyed last week, but this episode was my personal favorite out of the batch, and anyone following that 3-episode rule I think will probably be pleasantly happy with what Season 2's delivered. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, be sure to ring that bell if you want to get as many notifications to the channel as possible. Like I mentioned, full live reaction is available on the Patreon, and while you're there, you'll also get yourself a video shoutout. So today, we got Nilotep, Patrick Harris, and Quante Tuggle. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.